Okay, today we're going to work on 7-4. We're going to practice solving fraction division problems by making sure the dividend and divisor have a like denominator. So it's one of the strategies that we'll be using to divide fractions. But first, as we look at these, it says write each fraction as a whole number. So if you remember, we look at the fraction as a division problem. And when you do that, you just simply divide the numerator by the denominator. So 6 divided by 3 we know is 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 16 divided by 4 is 4. And then we're going to do the opposite, a little bit different here. We're going to take each whole number and raise a fraction with a denominator of 3. Well, in order to do that, I obviously want to write my denominator of 3, and I just take my whole number times the denominator of 3, which is 21, so I get 21 thirds. I could check that by dividing it out and see that 21 divided by 3 is indeed 7. Here I could say 3 times 3 is 9. On this last one here, erase this. I know I'm working with a denominator of 3, and I can take the whole number times the denominator, and I get 30 thirds, which is equivalent to 10. Now it says write 8 as a fraction using thirds. So same thing, I have 8, and I want to make it into thirds. So I just take the whole number times the denominator. So 8 times 3 is 24. Right, 6 is a fraction using fifths. So 6 into fifths. 6 times 5 is 30. And then our last one there, what fraction with a denominator of 4 equals 12? So what fraction with a denominator of 4 equals 12? Well, I got to think about that. What divided by 4 equals 12? Well, I know in this case, just off the top of my head, it'd be 48. So 48 fourths would be equal to 12 when you divide that out. We're not going to do that because that's a virtual thing. It's really harder to do here. So let's go ahead and look at page 243 in your math journal. So take a minute, pause the video, and go ahead and go to 243. All right, so now we're on 243. It says use your fraction circle pieces to solve 4 divided by 1/3. Draw lines on the circles below to show how you solved it. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video. I'm going to give you some time to work on that. Okay, hopefully you had a chance to look at that. So we're going to do 4 divided by 1/3. And I can see that I have 4 circles are already marked, but I need to split them into thirds. Okay, so I'm going to split them into thirds there. And obviously these aren't equal. If I wanted to make them equal, I would measure them out, do all those. But you can still see that I've got them each split into thirds. Each circle is worth 1, 2, 3 thirds. And I have 4 of them, so let's see, 3, 6, 9, 12. So I know that 4 divided by 1/3 based on my visual is 12. There are 12 thirds inside of 4. Now, we can do division by changing to a common denominator. So I'm going to show you this one. So I'm going to rewrite this because it looks a little confusing over there. It's 4 divided by 1/3. Now, what I could do is go ahead and rewrite 4 as a fraction out of thirds. So I'm going to say 3 times 4 is 12. So I know 12 thirds is equivalent to 1/3. And then I can divide across. So again, what I did here, I just said, okay, they want me to make it out of thirds. I want to have a common denominator when I'm dividing. So I just said the whole number times the denominator gives me 12, which gives my numerator over here, because I know that 12 divided by 3 is 4. And then I know 12 divided by 1 is 12, and 3 divided by 3 is 1, so I simply get 12, which is the same thing we got when we did these circles. Let's look at the next one here, 3 divided by 1/5. Okay, if I rewrite it out with a common denominator, I could say 3 times 5 is 15 for my numerator. And I'm making it out of this, divided by 1/5. I know 15 times 1 is 15. 5 divided by 1 is 5. And I simply get 15. I could also draw 3 circles and split it into fifths. and I would still get 15. So do we notice a pattern there? You've noticed all our denominators when we divide end up coming out to be 1. So let's look at these together. Let's try. I can do the drawing. So let's do a drawing first. And I don't really like circles. I think they're a little bit harder to do. You can do this if you want, but I'm going to split 2 boxes into 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1/6 boxes. And now let's do it with the common denominator method and see if we get the same thing on the division. So I know 2 times 6 is 12. That's going to give me my numerator. I want the denominator of 6. I'm going to divide it by 1/6. So 12 divided by 1 is 12. 6 divided by 6 is 1. So 12 over 1 is the same thing as 12. So you can see you could use a picture there, or you could use the algorithm and go through those steps. I like to use the algorithm because when you get into larger numbers and larger fractions, it takes a little bit more time to draw it out. You can do that either way. So I'll go ahead and do 4 boxes, again, to just give you a visual. So I'm going to divide 4 into halves. I want to know how many halves are inside the whole number 4. So I split them in half. Not too bad, right? And I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I should get 8 halves in 4. Now, if I use the common denominator method, let's see if I get the same quotient. So I do 4 times 2, and I get 8 over 2, or 8 halves is the same thing as 4, divided by 1/2. And I know 8 divided by 1 is 8. 2 divided by 1 is 2. So I get an answer of 8 halves. Or, sorry, not 8 halves. There are 8 halves in 4. So you can see, using the picture and the algorithm, both methods work. So how are these problems different between these two? We have a half divided by 3 and a half divided by 4. Let's see. Let's work these out and see if the trick will work for both of them. I'm not sure, so we need to see. So 1/2 divided by 3. 2 times 3 is 6 over my denominator of 2. So 6 halves divided by 1/2. And I get 6 over 1, or simply 6. Now let's try that for the next one there. 1/2 divided by 4. So I get 1/2 divided by, let's see, 4 times 2 is 8 over 2. I get 8 divided by 1, which is simply 8. So it works for this. The trick works this way as well. Even if the fraction comes first and then the whole number, it should still work for you. Okay, so it doesn't matter if the whole number comes first or the fraction. Either way, you should be able to get the correct quotient by using the common denominator method. One other method I want to show you before I let you have some time to practice on there, and we'll use number 1 for this, and they give an example up here. Somewhere they do. Maybe they do not on here. Okay. But let's do one more for practice. So 2 divided by 1/5. I know I could do 2 times 5 is 10. 10 over 5 is the equivalent to 2 divided by 1/5. And I get 10 over 1, or simply we just want to report it as 10. Now, I could find my answer there. How I could check that is saying 1/5 times 10 over 1. And I get 50/5. Or 10. Okay, so you're going to go through and you're going to look at these next problems. And so you're going to work those out and then do your check. So we're going to pause the video, work on those now. Okay, hopefully you've had a chance to work on problems 1 through 4. Now we're going to look at these problems here. And there's some story problems. We want to write our number model, find our answer, and then do our check. So it says Write a number model for using a letter for the unknown. The unknown would be your answer to start out with. Solve using the strategy of your choice. Show your work. Use multiplication to show your answers. So let's look at the first one together. Chase is packing flour in half-pound bags. He has 8 pounds of flour. How many bags can he pack? Okay, so he has 8 pounds and he's splitting them into half-pound bags. So I'm going to say 8 pounds divided by a half. I know I could use the common denominator method. I could also draw 8 boxes or 8 circles and split them in half, but I think that takes more time. So I'm going to say 8 times 2 is 16 over 2, because 16 divided by 2 is the same thing as 8, and I'm going to divide it in half. And I get 16 over 1, or 16 bags. Now, going back up, I kind of skipped a step here. We want to say 8 divided by 1/2, and we don't know. We're going to pretend we don't know the answer yet, so I'm going to say B for bags. And then you can do your check there. You could do 1/2 times 16, and you should end up with your original quotient of, or original dividend of 8. Okay, so look at the next 3 here, or we'll look at 2, and then I'll have you try the last 2 on your own. Let me erase some of this work here. Okay, so Regina has 1/4 of a watermelon. If she and 2 friends want to share it equally, so share equally, and she and 2 friends, which equals 3 people, right? What portion of the watermelon would each person get? Okay, so she has 1/4 of a watermelon, so that's what she's splitting it up. She's dividing them into 3 friends. Remember, she doesn't have 3 watermelons. She has 1/4 of a watermelon, and she's sharing with 3 friends. So again, I want to rewrite it. And I want to rewrite this as a fraction with a common denominator of 4. And I know 3 times 4 is 12. And I can check that and say 12 divided by 4 does equal 3. So 1 divided by 12 is simply 1/12. Okay. So they would each get 1/12 of a piece of watermelon, because 1 divided by 12 is 12. And it would make sense if we said they each got 12, right? If we reversed it and said they each got 12, that wouldn't make sense because you only have 1/4 of a watermelon. So 1/4 divided by 12, we could say equals W for watermelon. So you're going to do the last 2 there on your own. Make sure you use cubes and mark it up to see what you need to do there. So go ahead and pause the video at this point, finish those, and then come back. Okay, so you should have worked on problems 3 and 4 on your own. Now, on problems 5 and 6, write a story problem that can be modeled by the expression and then solve. So you're taking the first number, that's your whole amount of something. So I would say I have 3 pizzas and I eat or instead of eat, let's say I split them into 1/4. How many pieces do I have? And you don't want to copy mine, but I just wanted to give you an example. So the first number is always going to be the whole amount. So I have 3 pizzas. I split them into 4ths. How many pieces do I have? So again, you want to think of something where you have 3 of it. You're splitting it into 4ths. And then you're going to give the actual solution. So you're going to do the actual calculations and tell me the answer to your number story. On the next one, you have 1/3 of something. You want to split it into 4. So maybe I say I have 1/3 of a pizza left, and I divide it among 4 people. How many pieces does each person get? Again, don't copy mine, but that's just an example. Something for you to think about there. And that is the end of our lesson. So hopefully you're more comfortable with solving fraction division problems by finding a common denominator.